Hello, welcome back to another episode of Somewhere Between a film and TV podcast. We're your hosts. I am Daniel Parr.
And I'm Erwin.
And number one, thank you so much for listening and watching. Number two, what are they going to do?
They're going to like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. Erwin, what are we reviewing today?
We are going to review Lord of the Rings. The first one. That's it.
No, we've already done our review for that. If you haven't seen it, you should.
Yes.
Please.
But the War of the Rohirrim?
Rohirrim.
Rohirrim. Rohirrim. Rohirrim.
Yeah. And remember, everything we review will always have full spoilers. Before we get into all of that, I got to ask you a question, Erwin.
I love animated movies.
I also love... Do you love anime?
Yeah.
Yeah? Both of those things? So you must have loved this, right? So I got to ask you a question.
Oh.
Did you love this? Did you hate this? Or are you somewhere between?
I'm somewhere between.
No.
So you hate this movie.
So yeah,
Got
you
it.
hated it.
All right,
Remember,
makes sense.
If you ever say something's okay or good, it means you hated it.
I loved it. So you hate it.
And this is directed by who? Can you tell me?
Kenji Kamiyama.
Yeah, Kenji Kamiyama. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Kamahama.
with this, I got to ask you, why were you somewhere between on it? What'd you think of it overall?
Because this is our show. There's just some... I liked this movie, but there was some things that I didn't enjoy, and a lot of it had to do with... I think just the way the story was paced in this movie for me, and certain characters as well.
I kind of want to start off with our negatives then, actually, which we don't typically do, because I want to hear what your negatives are more than I want to hear what your positives.
What did you think about this movie?
I liked it.
That wasn't... Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere between?
I guess I'm also somewhere between.
So you hate this movie.
It was good.
Whoa! No, you hate this movie too.
No, I did not. I thought it was good. What I did hate was some of the animation sometimes, but we're gonna get into that.
I don't know.
What I also hated is the reason why this movie exists in the first place, which was simply to retain the rights with Warner Brothers so they could keep the rights to Lord of the Rings. I fucking hate when that's the reasoning for making something. At least this is better than some of those other reasons why stuff like that is made.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't know that, but that makes sense now.
Yeah, which is why it was fast-tracked, which is why it's super unpolished. If you think that was like the creative style, maybe some of it.
Dude, no, there's no way.
But there's some moments in this where their mouths do not match, and I know that like originally sometimes they dub things over, but there's no excuse here because the cast is already all English actors. So what do you mean? But yeah, let's get into this. Let me ask you what your negatives are first.
I think one of my major negatives that I had with this movie was just the story itself and how it was told, and a lot of it was just time jumps and like time skips.
You didn't like the story itself, or you didn't like the...
I didn't like how the story was being told. Like, I liked the story itself, but the way that they portrayed it, where there was a lot of time jumps between each time, like months went by, years went by, whenever they were in the very beginning of the movie, when the two kings were fighting, and then it was a years jumped, and then it was like another like couple of months jumped again, and then they were at the wall, and then months jumped again, and it just dragged a lot for me.
There was a moment that drove me crazy as well with that, where I get it. You want to... We'll talk about the fan service in here, because it's not really a positive or negative for me. It's just kind of in this movie. Yeah. But with Miranda Otto, they bring back as Éowyn. I know why they did.
Oh, the narration?
Yeah.
I didn't like that either.
I get it. Like, you want to do the whole Cate Blanchett thing that's in the original Lord of the Rings. And there's actually one huge critique I have with this. This is a movie I like, but I'll get into it in a second. I
still like this movie.
No, I do too. Yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. Don't get us wrong. The fact that we start off with the negatives, it's more that, like, there's a lot to elaborate on what's the issue. Yeah. Then there's plenty of positives. I do think the story in here is great and had the potential to be greater. Yes. And I get it. Héra is a sort of reflection of Éowyn in the first place. The whole, like, I am no man. She says it again in this. Like, I know.
That was such a great scene.
In this movie?
No, like in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, in Lord of the Rings, yeah. It's just like when they say it again in this, you're like, I mean, okay.
I mean, it's awesome, but like, come on.
The original version of it is. Yeah. But my big issue with this. My big issue with with this movie overall is that I love Peter Jackson's movies a lot, but...
All right, name all of them.
All the Lord of the Rings movies?
Yeah, what else did he directed?
Fellowship of the Ring?
No.
Two Towers?
No.
The Hobbit?
No, the other ones.
Oh, wait. There is one. I can't do it right now. Why are you jacking off?
No, it's King Kong, doofus. Who jacks off like this? Forward like this?
But a lot of people miss this universe. I like the Hobbit movies more than
I do too.
A lot of people. Like I love the Hobbit movies. This takes so much visual inspiration from the Peter Jackson movies, obviously, but still doesn't feel like the same world at all.
No. I felt like this movie was similar to how a lot of other medieval like movies or shows were like it reminded me a lot of Game of Thrones more so than like Lord of the Rings, but the fact that they have certain like elements like orcs and like other characters involved and like the map and like wherever they were as well, that it was Lord of the Rings obviously, but I just gave that sense. But I think just because the lack or how it was just about this one small battle
throughout the entire Are you gonna keep your hand then?
Are you nervous?
I'm just like, what are you doing?
I'm not doing anything.
It's distracting me. But
you keep talking.
Okay, but no, I mean, it's called War of the Rohirrim, but then there's just the one battle the entire time, and I still felt like, I mean, they even say, you said Game of Thrones, they even say, oh, a winter is coming on, and I was just like, the hell?
Wait.
You didn't hear that whenever they say that? It threw me off because I was just like, that's the wrong franchise. But my other big critique is the animation sometimes in this isn't great. And
I mean, even with the trailer itself, it just didn't look, I don't know, it didn't look great. I think just because we have come so far when it comes to animated movies too. Don't get me wrong, I love watching older animated movies too, especially when it's been drawn out.
Oh yeah,
so it looks amazing. But now it's just we're getting to the point where it just looks so realistic. Yeah, or just like finished. Too. I think that's what the main thing
sometimes is. It looks great. Sometimes it just like certain scenes very clearly were worked on more than other ones because there'll be scenes like where shading is over half of someone's face and it looks great, and there's so much stuff. Whoever like was doing the drawing on this, or it's probably a lot of it was CG. You can tell. There's a moment where like an elephant busts through something like these brick. I was like, ugh. But you can tell which scenes were dedicated more time to, and one of the most pivotal ones for me, because I thought the concept was great, but then they kept covering it up with snow, and I couldn't help but wonder if it was because they hadn't finished it. Was Brian Cox's character's big like final scene, which was such a great idea. The whole like we said that we didn't like the narration. When it benefits is when she's like, and they found him standing in place. And I was like, that's great.
Because... Wait, in moments like that though, did you ever get that feeling where whenever it cuts to moments like that, that it was just like the way that we as the audience are like reading it from a story? But that he actually didn't happen that way.
No, for sure. I thought that because at the very beginning they say there are tales older than the One Ring, and obviously that to me, whenever Lord of the Rings, even the original one, they make this whole point about, oh well, will stories be told about us? It very clearly, like this to me felt like whenever.
Sorry guys, my dogs are barking.
Yeah, whenever Gandalf is telling the stories at like the fireworks show in Fellowship. And we're like, oh, have you ever heard this story about this one king who died fighting people in frozen place? It feels like that. Like
okay,
yeah,
that's what I thought it would happen. It was like, how would he just freeze over? Like you see all these people down, and he just froze over like this just holding. But then again, it's like it makes you think too of like how cold like those nights were too. But I don't know.
No, I've never been weird about logic in universes, like cause how some people are about Star Wars.
But I mean, I think it's like in every franchise.
But the thing was, this is canonical to Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Some of the achievements that some of these characters do in this movie cannot be pulled off in those. Because there's a moment where, I mean, don't get me wrong, I do think Brian Cox's character is the best part of this movie, and he's not in it nearly enough as
no, not at all.
he's supposed to be.
You know which characters I really liked but weren't in it as much? The brothers.
Oh yeah, the ones that are very obviously voiced by the what are they? The hobbits.
No. That was the orcs.
Oh, the orcs?
The orcs were voiced by the hobbits. I
was wondering who. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I looked at. I was like, they sound familiar.
Yeah.
And so then that's what I looked it up. I was like, oh, those were the orcs.
Yeah.
But it was I don't know who the brothers were voiced by, but
because I was trying to figure out.
Wait, maybe Haleth, Freka.
Okay, because I was trying to figure that out because I was like, okay, they're obviously in this somewhere. I just don't know who it is. And what characters did you not like that you were talking about?
Oh shoot. I didn't like I don't know, I was going to say busboy.
Oh, the Hobbit? No. The not Hobbit?
That's supposed to be a not Hobbit.
It seemed like the short guy that was like, I'm your protector.
Sure. Like, yeah, I didn't like him.
I didn't like him either.
Who else didn't like? I didn't like, I guess not just like characters I didn't like, but how they utilize certain characters.
Okay.
Because I didn't like, like the brothers, how they weren't really utilized as much. They were barely, and they was like, but they had so many like great moments though too, where you're like, oh, I want more of that.
Yeah.
And they just didn't give it to us. And just more of just them and like their side and like what they want.
Yeah.
And also with the dad as well in the movie, Brian Cox's character.
Okay,
yeah. And just like they didn't utilize him as much as
Not
well.
Not nearly enough. Yeah. He's very clearly the strong point to me of this movie. But I agree with you about the busboy. But I just
didn't know
about that guy. I was just like, what's he doing here? And, and whenever I guess he's pivotal in the sense that she figures out that one guy's gonna betray him that also looks like the guy from Two Towers.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know, but that, and then I thought the pacing as well was all over the place. This movie's long. It's like 2 hours and 14 minutes, which, I mean, an animated movie that long is already an achievement all on its own. But the first half of this is really wonky. I agree in terms of its pacing, because the whole event of punching someone and killing them in one move, that's cool as hell.
Dude, that's so cool. I was like, is he like some kind of god?
No, and that's why, like, again, that sounds like a story. Where you're like,
that makes sense.
Yeah, where they're like, oh my god, have you heard this story?
The way he was just like jumping up and down, killing that one like ice beast.
Oh yeah,
he was like, boom, 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 boom. I was like, what is he doing?
That's why I was just like, is this supposed to be canonical in the sense that this is a fable within the Lord of the Rings universe? And I know people get weird about the Lord of the Rings universe too. This is based off an appendix in the Silmarillion, I think.
Oh, like from the book?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is based off of something that J.R.R. Tolkien wrote. And the reason why they say that in this, logically, why you won't ever hear the story of Héra is because she's unnamed in that writing that he does. It's everybody else that's named, I guess.
Yeah.
And I like her in this. I
liked Héra, yeah.
I felt like they could have done more with her, just generally speaking.
I did like the Wolf.
He's the... that's a great villain, actually.
Yeah, just the way... But that's because you understand his reasoning a lot. And like and once you understand his motive, and that was his only motive to do, and he had nothing else to go for, it was so good. It was so good.
There was one critique I had with him, and I think it's just because I think it's just a critique with the character in the context of the story itself, not actually anything writing based. But whenever he's like, she rejected me. He's like,
with what?
No, whenever in that line.
Oh, in the marriage thing.
Yeah. Because
I mean,
whenever
obviously, if you get rejected, you're just gonna have to fight a whole
declare war. That's why whenever people joke about like, hey, wait, is he an incel? Like, I think so, actually.
Oh,
because
she bested me,
dude. He takes offense whenever she's like, if I marry you, and then he goes, if. And he's like, your ego and your family. Look what the fuck is wrong with you.
He went on to kill her entire family.
No, and then he's like, I'm gonna make you feel what I felt. I was like, dude, you've already killed like I don't know how many of her family members. You've done it.
You've done enough.
Yeah,
man.
and then he's like, no, whenever he says, I'm gonna make you feel the way I felt because I was lonely for years. You did that. You did that.
You chose to be by yourself.
Because they even said in the whole passage of time thing with the narrator, they're like, he was gone for years. No one had heard from him. And then he shows back up.
Moments like that though too, where I'm like, I don't like this. Like,
no, and then he shows back up, and he's in Isengard, and he has a whole army with him already. Yeah. He clearly wasn't alone for too long.
He has a second in command. Like, he's not alone.
Who was his boy, and then he kept disregarding, which I didn't like very much. Because,
not at all.
Because I actually like that guy for some reason. I feel like
because he was a voice of reason.
Yeah,
and you're like, come on, man. There's no reason for us to do it. We're all dying here. And he's like, no, we're gonna keep going.
And then he's like,
you're not a man of your word.
And, and then he's like, there's no gold in there. He's like, they don't know that.
Yeah, and I was like, dude, come on.
But that's more of my positive stuff. Yeah. So before we get into that, I do also want to agree with you with the pacing like a lot though in the first part of it. Because
I think once they were actually in the wall, it got a lot better.
Yeah, because we just reviewed the extended editions recently, and those movies, I don't know how they're paced like that, but they are. Sure, you feel like you've been watching them for a while, but like, that's different than...
Yeah, but I feel like with the extended ones, they just get a... I say they get a pass just because if you're watching something for an extended period of time, that it's just... Eventually, you're going to realize, I'm watching this for a while. Like,
no, yeah, a while. But like, everything's always... interesting and captivating. Here occasionally you're just sort of like, I mean, I don't love this, so.
I didn't realize this movie was over 2 hours.
Yeah, it's like 2:15 or something like that.
I would want more from this movie.
Yeah,
but the fact that it was already over 2 hours, I don't know what else I would want.
Well, we did start off with our negatives, so now I think people just think we hate this movie. So
yeah, that's true.
Let's go into our positives because that's about it for me with all that.
Yeah.
What did you like about this?
What I liked about this movie was definitely the characters that they introduced.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know, just, like, I didn't realize how well they utilized, such a small story and made it into such an expansive movie itself. And it made me realize, wow, I really loved, like, the world that we're back in again.
Even though it doesn't fully feel like it, but I do think that it's Lord of the Rings inspired for sure. I mean, it's literally based off of the events and how it earned the name Helm's Deep and everything. But in terms of that, I miss this world all the time. Like, it's one of those things where you do miss how well fleshed out everything is here.
I like that one character too, the older lady with the broken shield that's like unbroken.
Yeah. The one that shows up and she's just kind of like been living in their walls.
Yeah. She's great.
But I really like Héra as a character.
Yeah, Héra's great.
As much as I wish he was in it more, Helm by Brian Cox is awesome. And his whole like mythological presence of being able to kill people
with one punch is amazing.
Really fucking
and he's
cool.
Old.
And yes, I know that sounds like One Punch Man, but like still,
it's awesome.
This is awesome. And the whole introductory scene, as wonky as the animation is, when he hits him and he dies, that whole scene is great. You felt the tension there. That was amazing. I think whenever like the characters were interacting with one another, like just moments, that's where it was strong. Yeah. And luckily I had enough of those in that movie to make me like this movie a lot. Yeah. Because I think going back to my dislikes again, but what took me away was just whenever they weren't interacting and it was just focused more on like this expansive like story that they were trying to tell. Yeah, which they don't have to do.
Yeah.
We've already seen Lord of the Rings and we've already seen The Hobbit. If you're going to go back to this, tell like a personalized story in the context of Lord of the Rings, because I don't think everything needs to be a war. Like, it's fine that the entire basis of the story itself about a woman saying no to like marriage and then it escalates family tension between two different families, that's awesome. And then like what they do back and forth in terms of, I mean, I guess you could escalate it to a battle, but everything outside of that with Wulf and the reason why he takes it so personally and everything. First it was his father, then you kind of realize he's just kind of like been excusing himself to do like horrible shit for most of the movie.
Happens when you have the lack of a father figure.
He was gone. He died.
He died.
And who knows how much time had passed, because we said that, but I don't even really know how much time
I don't know.
had moved between the movie at all. That's when I got kind of like lost in that. Was I really don't know.
Because they did a couple of time jumps.
Yeah, so. Maybe a little too many, because I don't know how long it had been. I don't know how long they were in Helm's Deep either, because then all of a sudden it was like sunny but still snowy, and then they were like, this winter's been killing us. And like, how long has it been?
Yeah,
I don't know. I have no clue. And
what are some other likes that you?
I really liked the battle scenes in this.
Oh, the battle scenes, yeah.
I really thought that I busted out laughing in a good way when they are building their siege bridge and the guy's percussive, and
dude, that was funny.
He flies off.
And like, he knew what was gonna happen.
I literally had that thought. I was like, "Why is he up there?"
They're about to bring that down. Why is he up there?
And he flies like at the camera.
He could have just been at the bottom.
I forgot. Just like, could somebody please explain to me like why that happened at all?
That's good. That's good.
I want to know if it was funny on purpose or if it was just like. And occasionally, when it looks like they had time to, finish drawing with the animation, looks great.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of shots. There's one of Héra up in like it's a cliff or something. Where she's looking off and there's like a kind of golden background, but then the forefront is like this blue on the cliff that she's on.
Oh, okay.
All the mixtures of colors and stuff I think is great. And this did address the whole eagle problem that people have with Lord of the Rings. They do get involved in this one. And then they literally
one
say,
eagle.
Yeah. And then they say, oh, they can actually understand the human tongue. And I'm like, I don't think they've ever actually stated that before.
Oh, okay.
But what about you? Do you have any more...
No, I think everything's been mentioned in my part.
Really? Yeah. Let's talk about the somewhere between of this. I think that the fan service was kind of...
Oh, yeah. I forgot. I'm sorry. I blanked out on that.
Yeah.
I think because it just happened so fast and it was just dropped in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Like, did you like it? Did you dislike it?
I just didn't think of anything. I was like, okay, I mean, they're there. What else would I expect?
I'm a huge... gigantic Lord of the Rings fan. I've like, it's one of those things where I can tell you I've read it all. I've read the Silmarillion too for some reason, and it's just like history shit.
Yeah.
And The Hobbit, and when Saruman shows up, voiced by the belated, is it Christopher Lee?
Yeah, Christopher Lee.
That, I mean, it's cool. He gets one line, and you're
pretty sure it was like a reused line.
Yeah, it is. It's like an archival thing, which thank God. Please don't.
Yeah.
Like when people do AI and stuff, it's just like don't. But it's just sort of like, I can help you if you want.
Yeah,
that's basically what he says, and you're like, that's Saruman. Saruman the White, and then the final part of the movie, I don't know. It was fine. I just don't understand why they went about doing it this way. Where they're like, I got a letter from a wizard, and then they even show the logo. I'm like, it's Gandalf, and then they're like, does he have a name? And then they say he goes by many names, and then I thought that they were just gonna stop talking.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Because you're like, I know who that is. They even play the music cue from the original.
Yeah, everybody knows Gandalf. Who he is and everything.
And then they go, Gandalf. I was like, okay, well,
there we go. Woo! That was worth it.
You're like, I thought it was Radagast the Brown for a second from The Hobbit, but
I thought it was Bilbo.
He's not. I don't know. With the fan service in this, like, it's just weird. I've never felt neutral on.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to point at the screen basically, and I don't know why.
Like sword jacket.
Yeah, I don't know why orcs were in this either.
They were just there in the mountain.
Yeah, they were just kind of hanging out, and then they were like, "What does Mordor want with rings?"
I don't know.
And like,
but then the fact that they had that one shot of a ring, it wasn't the ring, but it was just a ring
that looked exactly like the ring. Yeah, you said 100% the trailer shot.
Yes,
it's just one of those things.
It wouldn't have made sense though. I don't know. Then again, I don't know. So
I mean, supposedly that thing had been making rounds all over the place to who knows where.
So the ring is a whore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was trying to get back to its owner, so it was being passed around. Like what?
Okay, why don't stop saying it like that?
What?
It's just a ring. It's
you
just
called
a
it a whore, not me.
No, I don't take it back. So.
But yeah, the fan service was fine. I didn't love it or dislike it.
Yeah.
I felt like the orc thing was a little forced only because I was just like, what the hell are they doing here? But now that you told me who they were voiced by, it's probably just so they could do that.
Yeah. And then again, they could have just been voiced by anybody, so.
That's also true.
I don't know.
And I liked the inclusion of Miranda Otto as Éowyn again, even though, I don't know. It's one of those movies where I'm surprised it got a theater release. It felt like an HBO Max thing. But I'm not mad that I saw it. I'm not mad it exists. It is good. Like
I am Mad Max.
A Mad Max saga.
Yeah.
But overall, what'd you think of this?
I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. Had a few issues with it, but I would give it a 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was good. I thought it was solid. I would, if somebody said, "Hey, I'm thinking about watching that," I'd be like, "It's good."
Yeah, I would watch it. Like, especially if you're a big fan of Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
I mean, just that world itself.
Yeah,
you would enjoy it.
I'd say if you're a big fan, I'm pretty sure you would go ahead and see this because unless you have an issue with anime, I know it's not for everybody, and this isn't the best introduction to it because the animation's a little bit too choppy. I kept thinking about how even TV shows on a TV level, like My Hero or Demon Slayer, look better than this does.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. I've watched shows I love where animation gets in the way of its storytelling. I'm looking at you, Black Clover. I still love you, but it's
that's so true. There's so many episodes that look bad.
Yeah, sometimes animation gets in the way of proper storytelling, which is how I felt about this one, just a little bit. But I thought it was good. I also gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I think.
Hey, nice.
I think it's worth your time if you want to see it. Yeah. I'm not gonna tell anybody to go out of their way to unless they like already want to.
Yeah. Do you know how much it made?
Not a lot. It's not doing well. But
what movie this week is making the most?
If I were to guess, probably Moana.
Okay.
But
that's overall, crazy. This movie was made just because Warner Brothers wanted to keep the rights. Who would the rights go back to?
I think the Tolkien estate.
Okay. And what would they do?
I don't know. I guess nothing. Just have it.
Oh.
And people get greedy.
Oh yeah.
That and I mean, I can't comment on Rings of Power on Prime because
I haven't seen it.
I've only seen the first half of season 1, and I don't know how season 2 is. So don't group me with the people that hate that show because I don't know.
I don't know. I see like great reviews, but I hear people who love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
They don't like it. They don't like the show.
That's one of those things, like I said, I cannot comment on.
Yeah, I don't know.
You tell us.
What did you tell us? Please tell us. Is it worth watching?
Yeah. What did you think of this? What did you think of Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim? We are curious. We want to know. And what's up next?
Dude, I don't know. Okay, we got 2 Christmas specials coming up.
Do you want to tell them what they are? Or are we gonna
we'll wait. Okay. And then, what were the other ones? Oh, Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Yeah.
And then,
Mufasa. Lion King. And with one of those Christmas specials, we're going to have a controversial opinion on it.
Oh yeah.
That's my heads up for you. If you
know, so funny.
If you know us, you know what it is.
Don't worry, guys. I thought the same thing too, and then I watched it again, and then I was like, oh, okay, maybe it's not this.
No, apparently we're the ones that are wrong. But thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We'll see you next time.